Hey, this is my better late than never review of Terminator Resistance and its DLC Annihilation line. This is a game made by Teyon, which is the same company that made Robocop Rogue City, which is a game I absolutely loved and was one of my top 5 games of 2023. Terminator Resistance is the game that preceded that, and I missed it upon its initial release and figured I should give it a shot since I loved their later games so much. If you like listening to me talk about games that I love, then feel free to give a like and subscribe. Thanks. I would call Terminator Resistance a linear shooter and RPG light, probably. As soon as you jump into Resistance, you can tell that it's a precursor to the later game. They clearly share some of the same DNA. Terminator and Robocop are definitely both products of the 80s and 90s. They were both hugely successful franchises and definitely deserving of great video games. Where Robocop is clearly cyberpunk, Terminator is more cyber-apocalyptic fiction. Terminator Resistance takes place after Judgment Day in the year 2029. If you've seen the movies, you know what Judgment Day is. It's basically the cyber apocalypse that's accidentally unleashed on the world by the megacorporation Cyberdyne. In this game, you play as the character Jacob Rivers, who is the lone surviving resistance soldier of the Pacific Division. Your division is destroyed by a new type of infiltrator Terminator. It's basically a biomechanical Terminator like the T-800 played by Arnold in the first movies. The difference is that this unit is capable of truly human emotion and thought, enough so that it gained the trust of the Pacific Division before wiping everybody out. You begin the game trying to escape the ruins of Pasadena before the Annihilation Line sweeps over the area. The Annihilation Line is a miles-long line of Terminators sweeping from north to south, destroying everything in its wake in hopes of stopping the last remaining human resistance forces. Your goal as Jacob Rivers in the beginning of the game is to find the Southern Division and warn them about the new infiltrator model. While trying to leave Pasadena, you run into some civilians that are also trying to escape. You help them out and make it to your first base of operations. It's essentially a hub to buy and sell gear, do some crafting, and gather some side missions, which there are not that many of. Terminator Resistance does a great job of capturing a post-apocalypse America overrun by murderous AI. There's nothing alive in this game except for a few humans, some rats, and presumably roaches. There's a few shrubs here and there, but it's mostly just dust, concrete, and rusted steel. This is a corridor shooter with narrow intersecting paths broken up by larger outdoor areas and buildings to explore. These are mostly used as combat arenas or areas to put your sneaking skill to use. The game's stealth system is fun, but it's fairly simple. You can find and craft these electronic knives that allow you to disable Terminators if you can sneak up on them and stab them in the neck before they spot you. Sneaking around in some areas is a must, but I only ever used the sneak attack skill a few times during the game. I'm sure you could play much more of the game utilizing this system, but I just had a lot more fun throwing grenades and blasting everything to smithereens. The enemy variety is good enough for how short of a game this is, but I do think introducing a few more boss types would have been cool. The game has a handful of Terminators they throw at you. It has these walking turrets called spiders. There are these crawling and rolling robots called silverfish that would explode when they get too close to you. They kind of reminded me of creepers from Minecraft. There were drones that could sneak up on you from above and larger scouting ships that were definitely best to be avoided. There were also some giant tanks and Terminators that were much more difficult to take down.
Nice shot. Now get to cover until it returns to the scanning routine. Watch out! Drones approaching!
A few of them were near impossible and clearly just there as obstacles to be avoided. I did quite like the story, and I don't want to give too much away. It's definitely a fast-paced and exciting conclusion to the first 2 movies that stays true to the lore. It paints a great image of the aftermath of Judgment Day, only briefly shown in those films. I think most of the characters were at least interesting, but I wish a few of them would have been fleshed out quite a bit more. I'm pretty sure that each main NPC only had like one story mission to go through. There are a handful of choices throughout the game that will definitely affect the ending, and I did absolutely love the ending. Things get bleak, things ramp up, and then it all ends with a bang. The Annihilation Line DLC is very short. I think it only took me about 4 hours to beat, and it takes place sometime during the middle of the main game. but it's a standalone DLC. Basically a mini game, and I didn't play it until after I finished the main story. I'm actually glad I did it this way because I thought that this side story and these characters were even cooler than what you got in the main game. The character models and environments were also much better in my opinion. This is definitely a budget game though, so don't expect something like Cyberpunk 2077 levels of detail. Everything else about this DLC is the same as the main game as far as systems are concerned, except that leveling is highly sped up. You start with something like 9 skill points, and by the end of your 4-hour playthrough, you've fully leveled all of the important skills. Okay, so let's get into the systems. This is truly an RPG light. Don't expect anything too complex or involved. You can level your character in 3 areas. There's combat, science, and survival, and each area has 3 unique skills to focus on. Combat has stealth, weapons, and explosives. Science has lockpicking, crafting, and hacking. And survival has backpack size, toughness, which is your health pool, and fast learner, which will increase how much experience you learn up to 30%. I clearly leveled fast learner first so that I would have a more powerful character by the end of the game. I had everything maxed out at the end except for explosives. So I guess the only real decision here is about which order you level everything. Like I said, it's definitely RPG light. Really a shooter with a leveling system just uses motivation to keep you moving forward. But the combat combined with the sneaking around is absolutely a ton of fun, and some of it can be a bit challenging in a good way for sure. On top of the character progression, there's also a modding system for your weapons. This is definitely the precursor to the much better system found in Robocop Rogue City. You have 3 slots in your plasma weapons that can be fitted with mods. All 3 slots must be filled, and each mod has a shape that must match the shape of its neighbor in order to complete the loop. These mods affect damage type, clip size, rate of fire, stability, and can be mixed and matched. Towards the end of the game, you'll find mods that don't have a shape requirement and can be slotted next to any other mod in any order. Terminator Resistance is a game with simple systems that does just enough to keep you pushing for that next level or exploring to find that next mod. And the story is also well done and engaging enough to keep you playing to the end. I wanted to know the life outcome of all of the characters I interacted with, and whether or not we were able to stop the Annihilation Line. After you finished the main campaign and completed the Annihilation Line DLC, there's something called the Infiltrator mode to jump into. The Infiltrator mode is a prequel to the main game and puts you in the role of a T-800.
Stay here. I'll be back.
You're on a mission to terminate Commander Ramirez and find important information about John Connor, the leader of the Resistance. This is a short mode with no save points and lasts roughly an hour. You're taking out Resistance patrols and outposts and gathering information to pinpoint Commander Ramirez. There is no leveling system in this mode, and if you die, your game is over and you restart from the beginning of the mission. It's a short and fun little game mode that just gives you the chance to play as an iconic Terminator. All in all, I would say Terminator Resistance is a fun game, and I would definitely recommend you play it, especially if you can find it on sale. Is it capital G great? Probably not, but it is fun and I doubt you'll hate it. I would play this and then Robocop Rogue City if you haven't already. Robocop Rogue City is great, and Terminator Resistance is clearly the beginning of that excellence. Hopefully Teyon can keep it going and their next game is even better. I'm curious to know what that next game is going to be. Should it be another movie tie-in, or are we hoping for an original work? Let me know. Yeah, Terminator Resistance. Pick it up. That's it. See you later.